In this video, you're going to perform an activity with type of operator. So you will be given three values, and before you execute them on your Replit, you have to identify what is going to be their data types. Okay, so here are the three values in front of you. Console.log of type of hello, then a console.log of type of 10, then console.log of type of false. So pause this video now. You can have all of these three lines pasted on your Replit, and after that, before you execute it, you have to first identify for yourself that what are going to be the data types of each of these values. So pause the video now, and I'll be seeing you very shortly. Alright, so by now, if you have already solved this activity, this is going to be simple. You have to check the data type of hello. How do you do that? Well, by now, you already must be knowing that this is a string, and let's verify it by the answer with type of operator as well. For that, I'll be just making a new file in the activities folder. I'll just keep it as activity2.js. And I'll be saying console.log of type of hello. Let's quickly check the answer. How do I run this file? Node space the path of this file, which I can take it up from here and I can paste it, and I can see the answer comes out to be string. Let's go ahead and check the next one. It's going to be console.log of type of 10. This is going to be a number. Let's quickly verify if that's the case, and yes, that is a number. Finally, console.log of type of false. What is going to be this one? This is going to be a boolean. Quickly verifying again, and as you can see, this is going to be a boolean. So this is how you find out the data type of any value with the help of type of operator. We are going to learn about primitive data types. Now, what are primitive data types? The values which cannot be changed further are known as primitive data types. Basically, these are the building blocks of the data that we prepare in JavaScript programming language. Talk about any number, talk about any sentence like Crio.Do is the best place to learn. Whenever you print these kind of values, you are going to be dealing with primitive data types. Okay, so the primitive values are numbers and strings among some other things as well. So in JavaScript, we have a 5 types of primitive data types, which we are going to learn today in this video. Okay, so the primitive values are going to act up as a building block for all the data types that we have available in JavaScript. So console.log of 2 or maybe console.log of hello. All these kind of values are known as primitive data types. Okay, so some of the primitive data types that we have available in JavaScript are numbers, strings, booleans, undefined, and null. So strings are nothing but a series of 0 or more characters enclosed in single or double quotes. Booleans are something which have only two possible set of values, either true or false, and we are going to use them for logical operations. Undefined is something which is used for unintentionally missing values, and null is something which is used for intentionally missing values. Numbers are something which most of us already understand. Positive numbers, negative numbers, the integers, decimal numbers, all of those are going to be belonging to the numbers data type. Okay, so let's deep dive a bit more into it by practicing them on Replit. So let's go back to Replit environment and let's create a new file for us. Okay, so right below index.js, I'll make a new file. Let me just call it primitives.js. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about numbers, right? So what all numbers are supported in JavaScript? I can say something like a console.log of 2. I could have also printed a negative number, let's say minus 78. I can also print something like console.log of 45 point something something. I could have also said console.log of negative minus 54 point something something, right? So whether it's a positive integer, whether it's a negative integer, whether it's a positive decimal number, whether it's a negative decimal number, in all of these cases, it belongs to the number data type. All of these are going to print fine on the output and they belong to the number data type. So let's execute this file first of all. I can directly say node space primitives.js, and you can see all of these values got printed. Now, let's also talk about strings. What are strings? As I've told you, it's a series of 0 or more characters enclosed in a single or double quotes, right? So I can say console.log of just this thing, nothing inside the quotes. Okay, this is going to be known as an empty string. Basically, a string which is having 0 number of characters. I can also have console.log of a, which is just a single character, single character. We can also have console.log of Crio.Do is the best place to learn, right? So you can have multiple characters as well. All of these characters, whether it's 0 character, 1 character, or a lot of hundreds or thousands of characters, all of them belong to the category of strings data type. Okay, all of them belong to the category of strings data type. Now all of them have to be enclosed in either a single quote or a double quote. I'll just add a note over here: enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. So I can keep them in double quotes, or I can also keep them in single quotes. Okay, all you have to make sure is, if you have started with a single quote, end it with a single quote, and the same logic goes for your double quotes as well. The enclosing can either be in a single quote or a double quote. Let's print them as well. And as you can see, all of these values are also getting printed. It also prints the empty string, for which you can see this empty space. So nothing is getting printed for that part. Let's talk about booleans now. So booleans are mostly going to be used for your logical operations, and they have only two set of possible values. Either something can be true or something can be false. So let's see. Let me clear the shell and let's print this again. And as you can see, these values are also getting printed totally fine. These are going to be known as booleans. Now, what do I mean by logical operations for the same? Well, it is going to be something like, you're going to compare some values on the basis of which either it can be true or it can be a false. Okay. Yeah. Let's also talk about undefined. Now we are saying that undefined is used for unintentionally missing values and null is used for intentionally missing values. So what do we mean by these two things, unintentional and intentional? See, whenever we are going to declare any kind of variables, we need to store some values into them, right? So let's say if you have declared a variable by saying let a, but you haven't given any value for this variable a. In all of these cases, JavaScript is going to allot a default value to this variable, which is known as undefined. So in all such cases where you have a variable declared, but the value is not given from our side, default value given by JavaScript is known as undefined. Okay. And whenever we have to initialize a variable on our end, but you don't know its value currently, you can always initialize the value to null. So here's the difference. Why did we use the keyword unintentionally missing values? So let's say you forgot giving a value to your variable a. Okay, so in those cases, for those unintentionally missing values, JavaScript allots a default undefined to it. Okay, so I'll just add unintentionally missing values, right? But this time I'm already initializing from my end to say it as null. I'm intentionally saying to initialize this value to null, right? Now, at any later stage of my program, I'm totally free to update this value to something else. It can be any possible data type that you know currently. So, as a good coding standard, what you should always remember is that if you have to declare a variable, it's always the best case to declare it with a null if you don't know its initial value. In all such cases where you don't know the initial value, always initialize it with a null, and later stage of your program you can always keep on updating it as well. But undefined is something which we should not declare from our end. It should be something that should only be returned by the programming language back to us. Okay, so these are the 5 set of primitive data types that we learned: numbers, strings, booleans, undefined, and null. Okay. Now, how do we check the data type of these? We are surely able to print these values on the output, but how do I check the data type of each of these values? Can we do that in JavaScript? Yes, we can. So for that, we have an operator which is known as type of operator. We write it together itself. There is no space between them. So the type of operator returns a string indicating the type of the operand's value. Okay, so let me show you a demo right on Replit. Okay, so as you can see, we can check type of all of these values in order to get their data type in which they belong to. Let's go ahead and do a demo for the same as well. Okay, so moving back to Replit, for all these values that we have printed, let's also try to print their data types now. Okay, so I'll just copy all these values, I'll paste them down again, and at all these places I'll just be adding a type of. Okay, and I'll also be closing them. Okay, I think there was a bracket over here. This should be type of, and you simply have to just encapsulate your value under a type of operator. Okay, so let's just add the brackets at all other places as well, and let's print all these values. Okay, I think there's one more missing bracket. That should be just this part. Okay, let's print this again. And as you can see, for all these 4 lines, the data type which came out to be was number. So this is the reason I've told you, whether it's a positive or a negative integer, whether it's a positive decimal or a negative decimal. In all such cases, the data type that we receive is going to be a number. All right. Let's also do the same for strings. Let me just do it for one of them. So I can say console.log of type of a string. Let's see what is the data type that we receive. And as you can see, this time it is clearly a string. Finally, let's also do it for console.log of type of true. What do we get in this case? You can see it's a Boolean this time. We can also be checking your type of this variable, which is going to give you an undefined. Let's see that as well. And as you can see, this time it's an undefined. So type of is simply an operator which specifies the data type of the value that you pass to its brackets. Okay, perfect. Now there's just a quick thing that you have to remember. Let's say if you have an expression like this, type of type of 5. Can you guess what is going to be the answer of such case? Well, let's see, and let's print the answer. Let us just comment everything above that we have learned, since we have already understood it. And let's just only see the output of this thing. Let's put a semicolon here. Have a look. Why is it a string? Let's also talk about this. So type of 5 was going to be a number. I hope you already understand that by now. And type of 5 is already a number, but then what is going to be the type of number? That number is a series of characters. And whenever we talk about a series of characters, what is that? It is always a string. So whenever you're going to check the outer type of for the inner value, that is going to come out as a string. And that is how whenever you're going to use your type of operator more than once, in all such cases, the answer is always going to be string, right? So this is how we check the data type of a value.